Did we talk on the last podcast about my Blue Sky account and how all the Irish people are following me?
Wait, what?
Did we talk about this?
No.
So I've had Blue Sky for a long time, and I didn't use it ever.
Yeah.
And I've noticed recently that like all the people who are coming from Twitter to Blue Sky now, there's a famous Irish journalist named Rory Carroll. He's like a very serious journalist. He got kidnapped in Iraq. He went and like became friends with Hugo Chavez and was like a Hugo Chavez expert or whatever. Like when Hugo Chavez died, I started getting people DMing me on Twitter and they're like, "Hey, do you want to come on NPR and talk about Hugo Chavez?" And I was like, "Yeah, kind of." I think I have some things I would like to say on NPR about that, but.
Isn't he like a little bit? I feel like I've picked up those books and been like, wait, this guy's kind of doing like a hack job on.
Yeah. We don't have the same opinions about Hugo Chavez.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to go on. That's why.
Yeah, he's not a fellow traveler.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that the Irish Rory Carroll would not reskeet the money marge?
Yeah, it's a different guy.
That is currently reposted by Rory Carroll.
Yeah.
Rory, I fucking died. I was like
Let's
thinking,
not get on my-
I was like, man, I should reskeet that actually.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So, like a week ago, when the election happened, I started getting all these notifications, like all these people are following you, and it was hundreds of people from the County Derry in Ireland who think I'm the other guy. And it's like all of these, like every morning still I wake up and it's all these fucking people from Ireland who think I'm like the most famous journalist in Ireland. And then I retweet the fucking money march or reskeet. It's like I only tweet the dumbest shit. And it's like they're all like, who's this fucking moron?
Okay, well, welcome to Tired. What is it again?
It's a definite article.
The podcast.
The
Car
podcast for people who understand that cars are bad.
Yeah.
What episode are we on, Matty?
This will be 25, a public episode.
Episode 25, and this is a special one because we have our first guest. Da-da-da-da. Well, we are joined today by Victoria Scott.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the invite.
So great to have you.
Victoria, tell us about yourself, about your relationship with the automobile.
Okay. I have worked in the auto industry full-time as a journalist for, oh my God, it's going to be 4 years in like 2 months. I used to be a software engineer. I worked at NASA. I got disillusioned with the fact that I couldn't get anything done and nobody cared what I was doing at work. And I had been writing about cars on the side, so I decided to pick it up full-time and freelance. And I bought an old van and lived out of it and drove around the country for 6 months and talked about transition and life, and that kind of kickstarted my career. And then I bounced around a couple places. I currently work for Motor One as a full-time staff writer. I don't currently own a car.
When we first met, you had a Supra, is that right?
No, I had sold the Supra. Well, actually, we met on Twitter before I actually wrote for you, right? Rory has edited me. He's dealt with me as a professional, and I feel really bad about that because that article definitely.
No, it was.
People on Reddit still shit talk me based on that one article that I forced him to publish. So I'm really sorry about that.
No, there were a lot of people who were very mad about that article, but it was good. I just stand by
Wait, what
it.
was the article?
It was about the Dodge Challenger.
Yeah.
And
I got one as an enterprise rental car, and I decided I was in the period of my career where I was like, everything is a story. And this was a couple of years after Charlottesville, when a Dodge Challenger was used to kill Heather Heyer and injure a bunch of other people. And, you know, based on sort of Dodge's really macho sort of pro-America image, I was like, this car doesn't make really any sense unless you're buying it for image, and the image it's associated with is bad, and people did not like that.
Oh, spicy.
Dodge has still never spoken to me. Ram finally did this past year. They gave me a truck. I actually kind of liked it because I'm a huge hypocrite, but the Ram 1500 is actually a pretty solid pickup truck.
Sick.
Yeah, the Hurricane's great.
The post is the Dodge Challenger, America's id. Very good post. Beautiful photography. We talked about this one on the phone.
We did. I think I had actually written some stuff for you before that, but that's the one that I remember actually working with you on closely, because
this was the first one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That I had edited directly.
Yeah. So that was during the freelance period of my life.
This is a good post. Why was anybody mad about this? Let's see.
It was mostly Reddit. I found a thread on Reddit a few years later.
No, it was Reddit and Dodge's PR were both quite unhappy with it.
Oh, did Dodge PR reach out to you about it?
I believe I did have some contact with
Wonderful.
them.
I see.
It sounds
that,
sounds to me like you challenged them back. Sorry.
I never learned about it, and nobody ever tried to kill me, so I assume that everything kind of smoothed over.
Now, Victoria, can I ask, what was your van setup like? How was that?
I had a 95 Toyota Hiace that I had, I went through a breakup. I owned a Chevy Suburban with my ex. We sold it. I used the money from that to buy this Hiace.
Did Alanis buy the Suburban? Is that right?
No, that was Elizabeth Blackstock who purchased it.
That's right. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
As far as I know, she's still driving it. It was absolutely amazing. 454, two-wheel drive, 2500. It could tow 10,000 pounds and get the same MPGs it got empty.
Just to say, like 7.
I saw it at the race that we go to. Peter, I saw Elizabeth driving that truck
wow.
and sleeping in it actually when I
Let's
went.
go.
It's like if you fold down the pair of seats, it's like 9 feet long inside. I carried my
It's
entire.
yeah.
Do you remember there was an period of my life in which the thing that people knew me for was that I had purchased a 9-foot tall model of the Soviet Energia Buran rocket ship.
I remember DMing you about it when the purchase was.
This was a thing that people knew me for on the internet, like, I don't know, 4 years ago, and I fit the entire thing easily into the back of that Suburban because it was on eBay as local pickup only, and luckily I happened to own a semi truck that I could operate with a normal driver's license.
Okay, so
That's
going from this giant Suburban to a Hiace, which is this like a K van or is this, refresh me on because I'm picturing like, what did you just say, 95?
Yeah.
So
It's a cab over, so it's the same compact like form factor as a K van, but it's like closer in size to like a Toyota pickup or something.
right, but
Previa, yeah.
by 95, weren't they making the Previa by that time too?
Yeah, but I could get the thing is like the Previa. It was a very specific.
Did this slot underneath the Previa, like sideways?
No, this is above it.
It's above it.
Oh. It was just Japan only.
JDM baby.
Okay, so it's a bigger than a Previa, JDM. Okay.
Yeah, so mine was a super custom, which meant that it had like electric curtains. It had swivel bench seats that could face each other. Everything folded flat into a bed from the factory. 1K ZT, so 3-liter 4-cylinder turbo diesel. So it had like 90 horsepower and 300 torque. All-wheel drive. And yeah, it was just generally like kind of the luxury option. They also sold some of these as like school buses. A lot of them got turned into ambulances. Wow. They were like a workhorse van for Japan, and I would say like a lot of like Australia, New Zealand, like a lot of Africa gets them. Like they're kind of everywhere except here.
Right. Kick ass.
That's awesome.
It was cool. I loved that thing. I had a friend who ran an import shop down in Houston. It's Texas Vintage Imports. He's imported a ton of cool stuff. I've written a bunch of stories about like the stuff that he would bring in from Japan. But it came in, and I was like, this seems like a good time in my life to kind of abandon everything and go live in a van, because I had just transitioned, like I had publicly come out and started hormones like 8 months ago. I was not really on good terms with my family, a recurring theme in my life.
Cheers.
I had just gone through a breakup. I lived in Houston, Texas, a place I didn't want to be in. I, was trying to get this new career off the ground. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing next. This seems like as good a move as any. So, basically threw everything into a storage unit, put some, like, Walmart sliding bins in the van, and there's no outfitting. Like, this is not a glamping situation.
No.
Roughing it.
My favorite thing was so I spent a year, all of 2019, living out of a 2001 Honda Accord, which was
hell yeah.
So, but that was like that wasn't like a climb in the back seat, because even that doesn't work. That's like a recline the driver's seat and shut your eyes and hope you don't get cop knocked. But like, I was really good at it and I liked it. I can't do it because I have 2 cats now and they can't. I wouldn't make them live in the car. But like,
I get it.
I miss it sometimes. Do you ever get like the urge to just like go out for a week?
The biggest thing that's changed is like I got married over the summer. So like
congrats.
Thank you. I'm very happy. It was really nice. So the thing is like I don't feel quite the same urge to just be like I need to just get away from everything. I really kind of like I live in Seattle now, which is a much friendlier place. I got a lot of friends here. I've got my wife who I want to be with me, but I do still get the urge to be like I want to load up a car and leave with her for like a week or 2.
Aww.
I think we're gonna try to actually do that pretty soon. Like we didn't do like a real honeymoon kind of thing because we were rushing to get married before the election.
Yeah.
Because we're both, trans women, and it was like, yeah, this is whatever they're gonna make illegal. This is probably gonna be it first. So
right at the top.
It's not like Democrats have lifted a finger to help us yet this year. So I mean,
well, and it was just pre-election, and I was just like, I should brace for the worst.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately.
Yeah,
But we haven't done a honeymoon, so it's kind of like it'd be kind of cool if we like packed up. My friend's got a Buick Roadmaster wagon; he lets us borrow.
There you go.
We've talked about packing that up and just kind of driving out into the desert for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Oh, I love.
Me too.
So the Accord that I lived in at the end of 2019 needed way above the KBB of repairs to it. It was up to over like 250,000 miles. Like it was going to probably need a new engine in it at some point. So I had to leave it at the pick apart in up near Elkton, Maryland. It was one of the saddest days of my life looking at it. I still like have the picture somewhere on my phone of just leaving it. I can picture it in my mind. I loved that car. And I know what it's like to love an Accord and lose an Accord. So my heart.
Yeah, well, that was. But I mean, I did the same thing with the van. I ended up having to get rid of that one. The last like 4 cars I've owned, I had to get rid of basically under duress, and it sucks. It's miserable.
It's rough.
Yeah, that's a bad feeling.
Yeah.
I had a Mark II GTI in college that I was like, it was the first cool car I had, and the same thing. I kept taking it in to put tires on it, and the guys were like, hey, this car's been hit, the rear is like completely out of alignment and you can't fix it, it's like it's a mess, like this car's done. And it was like I kept driving it that way and putting tires in the rear of it, and then my roommate blew up the transmission for the second time, and I didn't have the money to fix it, and I just like put it on Craigslist for $500, and like someone came and got it, and it was like and all I have, because this was like ancient times, all I have is like 2 like disposable camera photos of it, and it's like in the snow, like wheels all cocked in the back, like the least flattering, like least interesting photos of this car you could imagine. Yeah, actually I think I have them right here. Hold on.
Put them up on the big board.
Yeah. Jamie, can we get these up on the big board here? Maybe I don't know. That's a photograph of the back of the GTI, we're getting closer.
Nice.
Let's see. Yeah, look at this. This is fucking bleak.
Oh, it's beautiful. Oh,
that's a good picture.
Beautiful.
That is a good picture.
Yeah.
You know how I want every car to look like that. It's beautiful to me. Peter, have you had to leave any cars under duress? Or I know we have like 100 stories of you being like, the heck with this.
I mean, I've
the Duster. I don't know where that where's that Peugeot?
I mean, there's so many. I've just I mean, the thing for me is yeah, I either just like outright abandon them, or there you go, or I kind of like, I mean, the last Saab wagon that I actually called and had them come and get and just bring it to scrap it. I feel like that was the first time. I think that's the first time I've ever done that. Like actually, like every other car, like I still kind of like in some weird, like the cord is not cut, right? Like I still technically own them,
still do own them.
even though
You could retrieve them.
they're like in other states, and I don't have, in the case of the Peugeot, I don't even really know. I haven't spoken to those people in 6 years, and I have no idea if they even still have the car. Who the fuck knows? So yeah, I mean, it's I mean, maybe that speaks to something about me as well, where it's just like, kind of difficulty in just like cutting the cord, just, I mean, really, the fucking Saab in my driveway should like, I mean, like that should be gone. Like I should just call the wrecker and just be like, just come and get this. Come and get this out of my life.
Oh no, God no! You just got to do a pan swap.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, you just got to pan swap it.
To our listeners, the Saab is still available.
Still available.
We told you that
Yeah.
20 episodes ago. It's still true.
1988
Please, so Rory
SPG.
doesn't. Once again, please, so Rory doesn't take it. He doesn't need it.
Okay, maybe I do.
Oh God, not again.
We're gonna find another victim. We're gonna find another victim.
Yeah. So, would you like to tell us talk about
Tell us about the Accord
your
saga.
Accord.
I've been offline quite a bit, so I came in at the end of the Accord saga, and I would really like to hear the whole story.
It's worth telling the story of the last 4 cars real quick. So I owned an
Yeah.
Accord Aero Deck. It was an '86. I imported it. It was
Yes.
not. I did not import it from Japan, but it was imported from Japan.
Yeah.
Right-hand drive, one of maybe 4 in the country. I was getting it rust repaired and repainted. I ended up having to sell it before I ever laid eyes on it. The paint job was done. It was immaculate. It was beautiful. This car was like everything I ever wanted, and I had to sell it before I even got to lay eyes on it again because I needed money. Because I don't know if you've ever done extended periods of time freelance writing with no actual support from anybody around you, but it sucks. You make no money and you have no health care. So I did that. I had to sell that one, and that was kind of like heartbreaking. Then I had to sell my van because it blew up and I needed money so I could leave Idaho because I got stuck there and needed to get out. Sold that, probably got junked. Don't know. The guy screwed me on it. It was not a very fun time.
Yeah.
Moved out here with my Camry. It exploded literally. So, it made a 600-mile drive from Salmon, Idaho, where I used to live, to Seattle, Washington. I turned the car off. The next day, it would not run right. It never ran correctly again. It had one trip in it.
Wow.
It made it all the way. I survived, and then
God.
it never ran again.
Escape pod. It wasn't meant to run again.
Single-use Camry.
Yeah.
No, I wrote a eulogy for that car. Like that one, actually, there's a story on Motor One that I wrote this year that was like a loving eulogy to that car because it truly served its purpose. But it was still, in its own way, kind of heartbreaking. And so then, I go, I have no car for a while, and I live in Seattle, so it's not the end of the world. We have decent transit. I occasionally get press cars so I can move stuff. My friend lets me borrow his Buick Roadmaster wagon if I've got big stuff or want to go camping, which is very sweet of him. But I kind of miss owning a car because it's been a huge, my identity forming moment that kind of both got people like Rory to notice my writing and also to get me, kind of started on this path to being a writer was exploring my identity through the terms of the first car I owned, which was a Toyota Supra. It was a 88 Mark III turbo. And I slowly modified it and became kind of comfortable with the idea of expressing myself. I was a really repressed kid. I was homeschooled my entire life. I was very religious. Did not know that I could develop a personality. And so this was a really core component of that. And, so the car was, I loved that car and I hated that car, but it was much more important to me than just as a vehicle. You know, it was I went drifting in it, I moved across the country in it, I autocrossed it, I daily drove it, with a welded diff in it. Like I did all of my like bona fide car enthusiast attributes came from that 5 years with that Supra, because I learned how to wrench on it. I didn't know anything, and I bought a set of Harbor Freight wrenches and started working on it. And I did I worked my way up to like doing brake swaps off of junkyard Mercedes Benzes, and putting down autocross times that were competitive enough that I was satisfied. It was beating much more expensive cars, which is all I really cared about.
Oh yeah.
So when I moved on from that, and I traded it for the Accord Aero deck, and this was kind of like me moving into a new era of my life, and I was like, okay, this is going to be like my new era is going to be like, I want to focus on style and building something that's like very Shakotan. I just never really got to do that. I ended up getting the van, did this off-roading thing, got good at that. It was really fun. I enjoyed it. And so I've kind of been in this place where it's like, I don't really need a car per se to live. It's okay. But I miss having one. I miss taking road trips in my own car. I miss kind of having something that I can work on and grow with. And so I went without a car for about 10 months, and then with my wife, we purchased a Honda Accord from a friend of ours. It was a 1996. It had 310,000 miles on it, I think.
Oh.
He had done some recent work. It had a new timing belt in it. It ran okay. It needed an exhaust manifold gasket and new rear struts because they were blown as hell. That was just kind of like, we bought this in late August, I think, and I was like, okay, we're gonna work on this together. The two of us, we weren't married yet, we were just engaged, but I was like, the two of us can work on this together. We can take road trips in it together. If we go to Winco twice a month, which is the big discount grocery store here that is not accessible by transit, if we go to Winco twice a month, we offset the insurance because we save so much money grocery shopping there. So it's perfect. This actually makes sense, and we paid hardly anything for it. The day before the election, I went to where it was parked and it was gone. And I called the police and was like, I think somebody has either towed or stolen my car. And they were like, we don't have it. So I was like, cool, all right, whatever. Then the election happened, and I was like, all right, cool, whatever. Time to remold my psyche. Hello, Bert. Sorry, my cat is here, and he's also got thoughts.
It's a recurring theme on the pod.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
yeah.
No. Here, I'll introduce him. Bert, do you want to meow into the mic?
Hello.
He's a little orange boy. He's 6.
Gosh. Oh, that's beautiful.
Bert, do you want to meow into the mic so everybody can hear you at home? No, he's being strong but
that's
silent
okay.
tonight.
He's wonderful. My stupider cat is over there drinking water like a horse right now, and I'm worried it came through the mic. Hi. When you're over here. Yes. Hi.
But so then things get worse. I find the car, which is a bigger problem than it should be, because the cops show up and they're like, yeah, that's your car. Well, I have to call them 4 times to actually get somebody to come out. I can't move the car until they take a report from it. It's not parked in a legal place, so I don't want it to get towed and then be on the hook for a bunch of impound fees. I can't find anybody to donate it to. I tried to see if I could fix it. It's annihilated. They smashed both rear windows. They destroyed the steering column. They appear to have blown up the motor because somebody subsequently tried to steal it again later because there was a different battery in it after I had found it initially with no battery, and apparently it wouldn't start. So I'm assuming that they just blew it up. There was oil kind of everywhere in the engine. I pulled the spark plug wires, and it was just 4 inches of oil in there. Don't know how that happened. I assume somebody poured they were like, this thing's running bad, and then poured 6 quarts of oil into it. I have no idea. It did not seem like somebody who was using their best mental faculties at the time of theft, because there was no point to this. They left the catalytic converter. I had brand new shocks in the trunk that they left. My wife's Hadestown CD was still in the glove box. The only thing that I think that all that they stole was the battery. And then somebody came by later and put a new battery in it. So I was, if they hadn't smashed the windows and destroyed the steering column, I'd be net zero, right?
It's really baffling. I mean, I've been to Seattle, and I can imagine if I were walking around Seattle and needed a car, there would be a lot. I mean, like a 96 Accord.
I had it clubbed too.
It's like a 97. Why would you go after a 96 Accord?
I wish I could tell you.
I mean, unless you're like
you're
you're a weirdo like we are, and it's like, oh well, shit, that's a cool, that's a sweet old Accord, you know. But I have to think that for the average car thief, there's other options.
Yeah, aren't there Kias you can hotwire down the block? Like what?
Everywhere,
Like, yeah.
everywhere.
There was a minute where like mid '90s Accords were like the most stolen car in America. Like in the early 2000s, like it was a super popular car.
No immobilizer.
So maybe. And it was also like there were a huge demand for parts, obviously, because there were a lot of them on the road, whatever.
But they didn't chop this thing or anything.
Yeah. What I'm saying, though, maybe it was somebody who was like used to stealing 95 Accords, and then he like took it to his usual guy, and he's like, "Huh? I got an Accord for you," and he's like, "Yeah, we don't really do that anymore. There's like 5 of these on the road still." And he was like, "Fuck."
They left it 3 blocks from where they stole it.
Insane.
I literally was walking home from my friend's apartment, who lives like half a mile from me, and I was like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, are you kidding me?" And I was like, "The plate's the same, and that car sure seems like mine." So it was.
Okay, so my theory does not wash then.
I don't know. So the thing is, of course, it's like with the motor being destroyed, I'm kind of like, I can't.
Yeah.
It's gonna take $4,000 to fix this car that I paid not even half that for. So I tried to call a bunch of donation places, and they wouldn't take it because it was on the street. So eventually my wife actually found a place that was like, we'll take a car. And I imagine, like, I had a title and everything. I imagine they might have taken it without that, because it was like one of those kinds of places where it was like, mattbuysjunkcars.com @gmail.com. Sure, that sounds good.
Don't give up my side hustle. I'm working here.
But yeah, so it's gone now, and I got no money for it because I wouldn't have full coverage on a $1,000 car.
Right.
Yeah.
Smart.
What a bummer.
I just don't have a car again, and I'm kind of like, all right, I give up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in that position many times where I'm like, you know what, maybe this is just not for me. Like, maybe I just don't need to own a car. And unfortunately for me, the result of that thought process is always like, you need to buy another car. And so I end up not. It's like, in my head, it's like, you know what, you should just get rid of all this shit and fuck off and forget about it. And then it's like, it somehow wends its way around to like, well, if you did get rid of everything, what would you buy?
Exactly.
Like,
then
or I could just buy that.
Then you get to go shopping. Then you get to start looking at Craigslist again.
One more would fix me.
This one's gonna be the
2:15 a.m. going back for one more project car.
Yeah.
I tell you.
Well, see, and this is the problem that I have with it fundamentally, which is that, like, when I bought my Supra, which is like a very identity-defining car for me, that was $2,800 for a manual turbo Mark III Supra that needed brakes and like some minor, kind of like touch-ups. Basically, it was a rust-free car mostly in Ohio.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is like. My next until I bought my van, I never paid more than $3,000 for a car.
Yep.
I have owned like 14 of them. And usually I would cycle through dailies and then kind of like have a longer term thing. My one that I desperately miss is like I had a 88 Prelude SI in Barbados yellow, so Y49, the cursed color, but it was perfect. It was my daily driver. It's the most fun I've ever had in a daily driver car. Just God's perfect Honda, right? And I sold it because I didn't have anywhere to put it when I was taking my van trip. So I was like, I sold it to a friend. He still drives it. He has that. He's got a 90s square body Ford pickup and then an 88 Corolla GTS that is his autocross car. He's the coolest dude in the world. He's taking very good care of it.
Let's get him on the
phone.
He's got the bright yellow. He's got the bright yellow Prelude, and then the bright red Corolla. So he's got the ketchup mustard thing going. It's great.
Cute.
It's phenomenal.
Big fan.
Tim, if you're listening, I still think about that car. We should hang out if I ever come back to Houston.
Tim, what's
anyway,
up?
Hi, Tim.
Yeah. You should just come on the show because you've got cool stuff. But yeah, so like I guess I bought all these cars for really cheap, and it meant that I could kind of take a flippant attitude toward them. Like, I had this Supra, which if I bought a Supra for $20,000, I'd be like, well, I need to not ding this. I need to be really careful. And instead, I put like the biggest tires I could fit on it. I crimped the hell out of the fenders. I pulled the liners.
It was so cool.
Put a welded diff in it. I lowered it. I ripped out the interior. I had bucket seats in it. I reupholstered it because I felt like it. Like, I just did. It was a playground, and it was very fun. And I really, the fact that it was actually fun to drive helped a lot, because it was like, yeah, I mean, it wasn't the most powerful car. Mark III's kind of handle like al dente pasta because of the body flex from the Targa. But it was still like the R154 feels good. It still like had a turbo. It made the correct noises. I had it straight piped. It would spit flames sometimes on accident. I was like, I was 23 or 4, and I was like, this is basically the coolest thing I could ever have. My Prelude was great too. My Toyota pickup was great. You know, even my van, which was like I've spent more on, was a very cool.
The van was sweet.
I love that van. I still cry sometimes thinking about getting rid of it. I didn't want to. But that kind of brings me back to where I'm at now, which is like I liquidated all of the cars I had that were worth something because I needed money to live. Because being alive is expensive. Being an alive transsexual is very expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like that shit's not easy, and you know I don't really have. I got into this, you know, I have a degree in computer science. I don't really have any like. I did this out of passion. There was no this career move was not something I did because it was like, you know, a family supported thing. So I've had to kind of make it work. So I've liquidated all the cars that were worth something. I have nothing, and it's like I go on Craigslist and I'm like, well, I could get like a nice Miata for I don't know $8,000. And it's like, okay, cool. So I have a parking spot outside. So if somebody tears up the top, I'm gonna freak out. If somebody like runs into it, I'm gonna be upset. You know, I have to put full coverage on it because it's worth a ton of money. I'm not gonna modify it because it's like $8,000. Like, why? I'm not gonna tear up a car that's that much. And so I was trying to just like make a concession to reality, but still have fun with the car by getting the Accord. And then this happened, and I'm kind of just like, all right. I don't know.
That's a real kick in the face. That's like when you make the decision to like get the and I think we've all actually been having this conversation on the pod recently. It was like we've all made a decision to like buy the grown-up car and like make a decision that is like a little bit practical and be smart about it. And with the exception of Matty, we've all lived to regret it. I think like Peter's grown-up car fucked him. I'm unhappy with my grown-up car. Matty loves his Toyota.
My Corolla's been very good to me. He's a good boy. He's a very nice boy.
There's a kind of a tendency in the automotive like journalism space, and I'm sure you've probably noticed this as well, Rory, that a lot of our coworkers, and I don't like not coworkers, I guess, but like our colleagues in our comrades in the industry, like, and I don't fault them for this. I think that it's good, right? Like generally speaking, they have like housing stability and stuff. And they've never worried about like where am I gonna go live, and that means that you can be freed up to make decisions like, yeah, sure, I can probably afford the payment on like a BRZ or something because like I've never been homeless. And that's just like, yeah, I'll keep making money in 5 years because I was making money 5 years ago. And I think that the only way that if you're somebody like me, or from what I'm hearing probably Matty, is like you either need to be like ruthlessly incredibly practical, or you need to say like, I need it to be an amount of money that if it goes away, I'm okay with it, because that's how I was with the Accord, right? Like I never got that, never seen that money again. It's just gone. I didn't get a cent from, you know, bobtoescars@gmail.com. I was basically like, thank you for making sure it doesn't get impounded. And so I guess like that, it just kind of sucks, because if I had a different income level here, if I had a different set of expectations for where my life would be, I would say like, yeah, you can get a pretty decent deal on like an ND Miata right now, and God knows I've thought about it. But also like, you just all saw the election. Like, why would I, as a trans woman, be like, yeah, I probably have steady income and good credit for the next 5 years?
Yeah.
No, I should be stashing money under my mattress.
Yeah.
Like, it's for, you know, bootleg hormones or something. Like, we don't live in those times.
Yeah, so I'm working right now on moving to Western Pennsylvania because the housing is cheaper, and I need to put down roots somewhere for the next couple of years because I don't think it's gonna get better for us for a while,
No.
and like I want to kind of hunker down, and I don't like it on the coast. People have said crazier shit at jobs I've worked in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, like urban manufacturing, like reasonably, like, you know, it's the East Coast. Yeah. People have said crazier shit to me about everything from like trans stuff to immigration to everything else than anyone ever said to me in North Carolina or Iowa. Like, it's crazy out here. I'm getting the fuck out.
See, I will say this. I was not able to get a job in Idaho. Because I've actually tried to leave this industry a few times, Rory. I don't know if I've ever told you this. But, like, shortly after you left Jalopnik, they stopped freelancing with anybody, basically, for a while.
Which time? The first time?
Second time, I think.
Okay.
There's just no money. Like, this has happened to me
Mm-hmm.
repeatedly throughout my career, right? I'll be freelancing. I've got a list of bylines that people would like kill for, and then all of them get back to me simultaneously, and they're like, "Hey, so Jerome Powell bumped the money printer slightly, and now we have no money to ever pay you again. You must starve to death." And I'm like, "Shit, I understand completely. This is not your fault." I was like, I'll go work as a barista, or like I was gonna drive like shuttle vans on the Salmon River, or in the supermarket, but I could not get work.
Yeah.
Because, like, in small towns, nobody wants to hire me.
Yeah.
So that was the problem that I ran into.
I have to go through staffing agencies mostly because, like, I've had to quit a bunch of jobs on short notice because someone said something fucked up to me in the parking lot, and I'm like, I don't want to see you again at work tomorrow. I'm just going to, family thing, gotta go. Peace. Here's my immediate notice. Right to at-will employment. But my resume fucking sucks. It's all precariat, fucking manufacturing, like, retail, whatever. But I mean, like, you kind of, like, I just keep finding college towns, and usually they'll hire me, and no one asks questions for a while. And it's like, it's fine, but it's also stuff like, oh, fuck, like, it is expensive to be a fucking transsexual. I haven't been able to afford top surgery yet, so I'm still, like, fucking, you know, rocking the tank all the time under the t-shirt, and like, please don't look too close. Please don't, oh, God, I hope I can wear an apron at this job. Joanne Fabrics, give me an apron. Cinch that up.
Well, that's my I guess that's my overall thing here with the cars, right? Is it like it's you cannot enjoy the things that I have watched myself be downwardly mobile throughout my life, and I've watched it get worse since I came out. And you cannot enjoy like a hobby that requires that you have a parking spot at the bare minimum and probably a bunch of tools and like stable income if you don't have any of those things, because we live in like the end times.
Yeah. You can't have any hobbies. Everything, like, all the housing is bad. There's no money. No one will hire you. People who do hire you are going to sometimes stick you in a room with people who are total freaks to you. And it's like, you know, you do the best you can.
Yeah.
you.
Well, and that's like, I mean, I'm super thrilled that I've got like a full-time job and I like what I'm doing. And it's just that, like, I also worked at the Drive before, and that was a place where I also was like very lucky I had a full-time job and I liked what I was doing and I liked who I was working with. And then all of a sudden, they were owned by private equity and they just laid off a bunch of people. There wasn't really a rhyme or reason to it. And so I don't really learn to rely on any of these things super heavily.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm curious about, Victoria, is do you in the course of your automotive journalism travels, do you get sent on like press trips and launches and that kind of stuff? Is that like a regular part of your work?
Yeah, it was for a bit. I stepped away from it for a bit because I had a mental breakdown this year from stress. Because I was working a lot and I was traveling a lot and I launched a book and I had the messy stuff with my family and just kind of a bunch of life events all hit at once when I was also working like 60 hours a week and gone most of the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, I'm going to take a break from this for a bit. But generally speaking, yes.
Yeah.
I did like 7 car launches this year, I think, and I haven't traveled since like July.
Okay. The thing that I mean, the reason I ask is I mean, I've Rory's sent me on some of those types of trips in the past, and at least like like some of the ones that I went on were just outrageous in terms of just their where you're going, the places that they're putting you up, the places that they're taking you to feed you. I mean, it's like, it's the most. I mean, it's like you're living this kind of like Instagram dream, right? Of just like you're pretending to be a rich person, right? And staying in these 5-star hotels and the whole getting the whole treatment, and I feel like there's such a like fascinating contrast between that, doing that, and then also knowing that for most of the people doing this job at this point, I mean there's still a handful of people who have like full-time real salary jobs, but I feel like that's ever smaller number of people, and way more people who are kind of just in the precariat, like we all are, just kind of trying to piece it together and just relying on hustle and so it's just this bizarre combination of like, well, am I going to make rent this month? Right? Can I feed myself? And then meanwhile, like, oh, I'm shipping off to Portugal, or it's like I'm going to spend. Well, I know I'll be
$15,000 a night
no,
hotel
that's the
room.
thing. I mean, it's like I got to see like I mean, when some of those, like when I went to Spain or went to Sicily, like they call you and you do they arrange your travel for you, and it's like, oh, kick ass, it's all business class, first class, whatever, and then you get the itinerary or whatever, and like on a few of them, like I could see like what they were spending on just the plane ticket just to fucking get me there.
Yeah,
they're spending like more than $10,000 so that I, like unqualified, just fucking Yahoo, can go drive this car for an afternoon. Yeah, I mean, it's so absurd, and it's like, you could just let me drive it here. I'll just take the 10 grand. I don't need to go there.
You won't miss it.
I could actually use that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, did you ever kind of have the sense of just the absurdity of that?
Yeah, it's never left. The first press trip I ever did was Infiniti QX60 back in 2021. Actually, this was my van trip. So this is what heightened the absurdity for me, right? So this was a period of my life. I had been living out of the van. The van had broken when I was off-roading in a catastrophic way.
Oh, no.
I had sheared the frame apart, basically. There's a low-hanging kind of bracket that held on to the lower control arm for the rear suspension, and I sheared it off on a rock, and I had to fix it with handcuffs and drive it down a mountain like another 25 miles. It was a great story. Like, it was one of the best stories I've ever told as part of the van series. However, that left me without a place that I was living.
I hate having to take the thing in for repairs when you live in it. That's the worst. I'm like, I gotta get a Motel 6.
Yeah, and it was a huge, complicated repair, because you can't go to a junkyard and cut off a good piece of metal, because it's a Japan only like 27-year-old minivan. So they had to custom fab something, and there was a shop. It was called World Famous 4x4. They did do it. Like, they went way above and beyond for me, but it did take a while.
This is a good. I think I did. I do remember DMing you and suggesting that you bring it here so we can fix it here. This is like a good glimpse into how stupid I am. I was like, just get it to Michigan. We can fix it here.
But it was not feasible, because the thing was like, I was holding it together literally with like leg irons and handcuffs. Like, it was genuinely like I had a suitcase full of bondage equipment in the back, and I raided it to get this thing down the mountain.
Transgender excellence.
I was first year out. Of course, I was going to be doing freaky shit in my van.
Listen,
that's the whole point.
I understand completely. Have no fear.
So
you're valid.
So I this thing is sitting in a shop for like 2 months. I lived in a friend of mine's car for a bit, and then like there was a friend who owned a house that was being remodeled in the Hollywood Hills. So I was like literally invisible, like I could see the Hollywood sign from the front door. Wow. It was literally in like Beechwood. And it was a house that had no water and no AC or heat or like one of the electrical outlets worked for some reason. I thought the power was shut off, but it was like a gutted, empty house. I was sleeping on a tile floor. I was using the bathroom in a porta potty, and I would go use my friend's place to take showers every couple of days. So, like, Matty is nodding because, like, you get it.
Oh yeah, well yeah. I mean, a house with no water and no power and it's like, oh, it's like the car but big and a roof.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, this is I can't afford a hotel, and if I fly back to Texas, my trip's basically over. Like I'm calling it quits. I'd only been driving on the road for like 2 or 3 months at this point. I really wanted to keep it going. So I am staying here. I'm sleeping on a tile floor, and like it was, it varied between like doing okay and like kind of rough. It was just it's sometimes it was good and sometimes it wasn't. That's just like kind of how like that is.
Yep.
But I got a call to go to Infiniti QX60 for Motor One. Actually, this was under John Neff back when he used to run the site, and I was like, sure. What are you having me do? And he was like, go to the first drive. And I was like, okay, I don't know what this is. I've read these, but I don't know how to do it, so whatever. This is when I rented the Dodge Challenger from Enterprise Rent-A-Car that I wrote a story about for Jalopnik that got a lot of people mad at me, including probably Dodge, and probably made Rory's life harder. So I drove out there, and I went to we stayed at this hotel in Napa. I will never forget this. It had its own vineyard on premises because they made their own wine. And it was like, they had like this rainfall shower and like it was just I was literally on a tile floor because I could not afford anything better the night before.
Right.
And then I get a car comped to drive out there. It's a cool muscle car I can tell a story about. And of course I'm desperate for money, so I'm like, yeah, of course. Rental car? That's a story. And then I'm at like I'm like, so can we drink? And they're like, yes, you can drink. You're allowed to have like the food, and they had like wine.
You can drink so much. You can drink so much.
And I was just like, I had like 2 glasses of wine, and I was like, oh my god, I hope everyone doesn't think I'm like a sloppy mess drunk.
No, you can have like 40 glasses of wine.
You can. I didn't know this at the time, but it was just like, and so I drove the car, and I was like, this thing is insane. What the hell? Like it's it has leather. It's got like heat and cooling, and like it drives relatively in a straight line.
Right.
Like,
and you're supposed to be objective about this thing that's like, wait, this is like the nicest...
This isn't even broken. This is the best car I've ever driven.
I was living in a van. Like, I genuinely was doing the Chris Farley bit, except for my life. Right. And then my van broke, and it got worse. And then I stayed at, like, a hotel that... I don't know how much it cost. It probably was several $1,000s a night. I don't know. All I can tell you is that, like, I would literally kill somebody for one shower in that shower again. Like, it was just that good. And yeah, I mean, the car review, looking back at it, was like, I didn't know how to write a first drive review, so it was pretty bland. It wasn't my best work. I try to make them better than that now. But, I did the job, and I was like, well, that's nuts. And then I did like 7 more of those in rapid succession. I was like, oh my god. So yeah, right currently, to answer your question, this is all a very long story that is not answered your question. I apologize.
I was just going for stories.
That's
This is the whole,
Currently, in the spot where my 96 Accord used to be, there is a Genesis GV80 that I'm reviewing for Motor One. It is genuinely very lovely. I actually like it a lot. It is $81,300 as equipped. That is still always just kind of like, I don't... Like, I ask people this almost constantly, right? Where I'm like, hey... I don't know anyone who has ever spent $81,000 on a car in my life. And I know some pretty well-off people, right? Like, I know people who have bought, like, Lambos and stuff. And that's a different category of thing. They've bought, like, their collector cars. They bought, like, classics. These people still daily drive, like, Chevy Bolts. Like, they just... And so I'm always constantly, when I meet somebody who's, like, in an income bracket that I just don't really understand, I'm always like, hey, so, like... What are you looking for? Like, what am I looking for? I'm like, this thing is nicer than my apartment, right? Like, these seats are incredible. It's like quiet, it's comfortable. Like, I had a ZDX last week that was like $75,000, and I know it wasn't worth $75,000 because I've driven enough stuff at that price point to kind of like figure out like, all right, this is what a $75,000 car should kind of look and feel like. But it's just, I don't know. It's very funny. I was in Bellevue, which is kind of the Amazon asshole half of Seattle.
Right.
Like, it's across the water. We quarantine them to keep them from gentrifying Capitol Hill entirely. It kind of works, is the crazy thing. But I was over there, and, like, people are like, oh, nice Genesis. That's really nice. And I'm like, I'm getting out in, like, thrifted Soviet overcoat. I swear, I kid you not. Yes. And, like, you know, my beat to shit Doc Martens. And people are probably thinking I'm doing like some kind of like avant-garde punk statement or something with my $80,000 car, and I'm like, no, I mean, thanks. I like it too. It's a nice SUV. So yes, I feel like I'm constantly going insane. I feel as though the spectacle is parked in my parking spot, and it is consuming me.
Yeah.
That's the worst feeling, is when you get out of a car that you're driving and people are like, is that your car? Because they know it's not. And it's like, fuck you. Like, it could be.
Oh, see, no, I don't do that. Okay, it depends on the person who's asking. If I'm in Seattle and like another like visibly queer person is like, ooh, cool car, is that yours or whatever, I'm always like, I tell them the truth, I tell them what I do, and usually they're like actually intrigued, right? Like they're actually like psyched about it. If like some old man, this happened to me in Palm Springs repeatedly when I was on an Aston trip. If some old man is like, ooh, nice car, you know, where'd you get that from? I'm like, it's mine. Like, it's mine, actually. You know.
Flex on them.
That's a nice 12-year-old BMW, dude. This thing, you know. One monthly payment is like the residual on your car, man. That's nice there. And I will just pretend that it's mine because I enjoy it. Because there are so few instances where I actually get to have that kind of like societal advantage that I'm just like, no, this McLaren is mine. But it's only for those guys, and it's only for the ones who are trying to be like, either that or if they're creepy and they're kind of like hitting on me a bit and they're like 35 or 40 years older than me, then I'll also be like, it's mine, and also I'm married.
Yeah. No, just destroy the chasers at every opportunity. Absolutely. 100%.
Just the ones that are old enough to be my dad, honestly. The rest of them, whatever. But like,
speak for yourself, sister. I don't think I've made $80,000 in the past like 5 years of working in my life, like net.
I've had periods like that too.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Well, and when I worked in software, it was kind of funny because it was like I made very little relative to like what other programmers made, but it was because I was in like public service, public sector rather. But like, it was still just kind of like, yeah, you will make 5% more every year for the rest of your life, with occasional large bumps for, you know, for promotions or whatever. And the whole reason I left because I was more passionate about the cars, but also I did leave because I was pretty worried I was going to get fired as soon as I came out because I could not read my boss. I worked at Johnson Space Center, which had, I don't know, 15,000 people. I worked like in the mission control building, right? Like it was like I could get to the historic like mission control room.
When they said, Houston, we have a problem, they were talking about your workplace.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That is literally the building. And I was part of our like LGBT ERG group, and I was attending for a while, and I knew I was like, I really want to come out. I was still like not out yet, and I never met another openly trans person there. There were a few people I was like maybe, but I actually wasn't certain, and I was always like, if nobody's willing to be like, hi, I'm transgender at their workplace here, and I have to be the first one, I don't want to do that. It was literally easier for me to be like, okay, I'll be like a big public figure as a trans woman in automotive, because I was like, this is a new thing. It feels less scary than trying to come out of my current job. But it's just speaking to the ways in which you kind of like have to uproot your life and lose a bunch of money if you come out.
The thing that I wonder about though is like, is that guy walking down the street, the guy who stole your Accord, is he walking down the street and seeing this Genesis and just walking past it and just being like, yeah, no, that looks too fancy for me. I'm not gonna.
Nobody owns a Genesis. Nobody. Who'd you resell the parts to? The
I guess so. Yeah.
I think the thing is like the Accord was just easy to. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really, honestly, like I was fully prepared. Like if somebody, when I found it, I was like kind of I was like, somebody might be living in it. It's like, I didn't call the police immediately. I was like, if somebody's living in it, I need to figure out something that doesn't involve police coming.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I was like, maybe somebody really desperately needed it, right? Or like, maybe they chopped it up for parts, or like, I have no idea. I was trying to craft some kind of narrative in which like it was not a complete fucking goddamn waste. And then I was like, no, you literally just like, two poor trans girls living in Seattle, you were like, yeah, let's fuck up their car. So there are very few people who I would ever like want to challenge to a fist fight. But if you stole my car and you are listening to this podcast, I challenge you to a fist fight. Meet me at Cal Anderson. I will kick your stupid ass, you dumb motherfucker.
You tell him.
That is a really, like, I remember I had my garage broken into in Detroit, and I had like all of my hand tools, like, you know, a bunch of expensive stuff that I had like acquired over the years.
Yeah.
And this person broke in, kicked my fucking door in, kicked 2 doors in, and then spent so I drunkenly installed a $30 Amazon stereo amp into the one of the workbenches. But I could only, because I was drunk at the time, I could only find like 8-inch screws to install it. And so I screwed it into this bench.
Hell yeah.
And this poor idiot spent however long unscrewing manually with a screwdriver all these, and didn't get the last one.
Out scarves.
It like literally must have taken him forever, and then like didn't realize that you could just walk across the room and have like a bunch of like easily resellable.
How much was this stereo worth, Rory?
Maybe $30. I mean, it was probably like $19.99 or whatever.
And he spent like, probably like at least an hour like trying to
so long. The thing is, like, I as an idiot can imagine this process because like you start unscrewing the screw and you're like, well, how long could it be? You know?
The picture of the guy who's like tunneling and he turns away right before he hits the diamonds, but it's you unscrewing the 8-inch screw.
Well, yeah, there's no way it could be like, and there's no way all 4 of them could be these long screws. But he didn't even get the fucking stereo out because the alarm went off, and I ran down there in my underwear, and he ran away. But like, it was so bad. It was like, you're not just a thief, but you're so bad at it. And it's like, man, I don't know. Like, you know, I just, like you said, I would have sympathy for somebody who stole my shit and like went to the pawn shop and like scored some money to pay rent or buy food or whatever. But it's like,
God, this was senseless waste.
Yeah, it's just like you're not even good enough at it to be like for me to respect the effort, you know? Like,
no, I mean, like,
it's open the schools. This is not how you steal a car.
There's a lot of crime that I look upon with like kind of a sense of, you know, I mean, I try really hard to live life sympathetic to other people, but no, I would like to kick this man's ass.
Yeah,
it's
it's got to be a man because no woman is this stupid. I refuse to believe it. I can't. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
There's just no way. There's just no way.
Hashtag support women.
A woman would have stole your catalytic converter and that'd have been it.
Exactly. I mean, or like, you know, I would have at least believed like maybe she would have stolen like the Hadestown CD.
Yeah.
Yes.
There
Like
you go.
leaving that suspicious.
Something. Yeah.
No taste.
Fucked up.
Yeah. Fuck them. Well, all Honda Accords are up there in Honda Accord heaven, like a bunch of puppies just driving around together and having fun. They're frolicking, they're playing, they're beautiful.
Bumping into each other.
Your Accord, my Accord.
Rolling over, getting their bellies rubbed.
The thing is like I would say like if you find a white Honda Accord with personally identifying feature in a junkyard, like, you know, make sure you thank it for its But I didn't even own it long enough to have a personally identifying feature on it. My wife and I named it Sartre. Like the French
the being nothingness guy?
Yeah.
And that was it. That we didn't. I was gonna like. I had like stickers and stuff I was gonna get for it. And like, nah, didn't have it that long. So if you find a white Honda Accord in a junkyard, like just hug it just in case.
Yeah.
I think that's a good practice to be in, actually. If you see a Honda Accord, give it a hug. I tried really hard.
Yeah.
Rory, have you ever owned a Honda Accord?
No, I've been close a couple of times. My sister had one, and then there was one that I was kind of like pining after for a long time, and my buddy sold it out from under me. It was a 91, and it was totally rust-free except the rear fenders where they always rust. Maroon stick shift 4-door, and he, before he sold it, replaced the rear fenders, had it like professionally basically restored, and I was like, dude, you gotta sell me that car. And he sold it for like $1,800. Yeah. That is the thing that we talk about. I mean, we've talked about this in the pod, and you kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, but the refuge of like fun cars that are somewhat practical and also affordable, like you can really do stuff in, is really shrunken over the last few years. I mean, that was a car like that would be a car that'd be massively fun to drive, and like you could do a lot of stuff to it and like have a lot of fun with it for very little money. But even that car, like right now, that equivalent car would be $8,000.
Well,
Yeah.
the way I look at it is like the problem is kind of the long tail of like classics, or the long tail of like usable daily driver has finally intersected like where the head of classics is. So like an S2000, right? Like if we lived in normal times, an S2000 would have depreciated to like $3,000 and stayed there for a decade,
right?
Because people would have stopped driving them and they wouldn't be worth anything because there'd be new cars coming in to like backfill. There'd be like there would have been whatever the S2000 successor was that we just didn't get a decade of because of 2008. And so like those cars just never depreciated. Yeah. And now they're classics. Mm-hmm. They never got like my Supra was 29 years old when I bought it, I think, something like that, probably around there. It was 29 or 30. And it was like they had been cheap for about a decade, and then they started picking back up because they were classics, and like a lot of them had been thrashed. A bunch of 20-something-year-old idiots drifted them and gutted them and put welded diffs in them and that kind of stuff. And so like they started to climb back up, but they had that trough. And that trough is just gone.
Yeah.
I think the lack of new cars in that class, and then also just like the internet thing too. Generally, like there are no deals on anything anymore. Like everything is a perfect market. Like whatever thing that you're into collecting, everyone knows how much it's worth. There's no like, oh, I bought this from an old guy who didn't know shit. Like who was like whatever, just thought it was another 30-year-old car or whatever, or like a guy in a small town who didn't know. It's like everybody can go immediately on their phone and be like, what is my 1995 F-150 worth? What is
well, and the other thing that's worth considering too is like the average age of a US car is 13.
Yeah,
like people are just hanging on to stuff for longer than ever, partly because they can, because like OBD2 cars are generally pretty good until like reliability wise until probably the past 5 years or so, but then also like they're poor.
Yeah.
Everybody needs everything to last 13 years.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's because new cars are fucking so forbiddingly expensive.
Yeah, we were just talking last episode, the one that goes up tonight, about just the general shift to away from that. Rory, you had a great framing for it of talking about it as the way the manufacturers see it as like moving toward high margin and away from low margin vehicles because the cost for them to produce them is the same, which is still fucking making me insane. What is the value of a coat? What is the value of the linen to make a coat? Blah, blah, blah. But Victoria was not here to see me lose my fucking mind for about a half a minute realizing this. But like, there's no more low margin cars coming out anymore. And like, I don't want to cross over. I don't like them. I don't like them. I want them to make up the Toyota Corolla like I have, but maybe like better.
You will drive an HRV and you'll like it.
No, I'm not gonna. I won't.
Do you guys want to hear my proposal to save Nissan?
Yes, please hit me with this.
We're
bringing Datsun back again.
We were just talking about Nissan's plight last episode, and Rory pointed out that it's like, I mean, traditionally Nissan, kind of appealed to I mean, their whole selling point was that these are inexpensive cars, for a mass audience, and that should be an easy sell at this point because everybody else has abandoned that, and I think that's exactly right. And I think that what Nissan needs to do, I do think they should bring back the Datsun nameplate. I mean, they did in
They tried for a couple of years not long ago, right?
I thought they did in like Southeast Asia maybe, or in India.
Yeah.
Anyway, but no, I think they should relaunch it here, and they should just do like a cheap, simple, could be a crossover, could be a 3-box kind of thing, small, lightweight. Make it hybrid, but keep it as.
May I suggest wagons?
Well, this here's the thing though. So I want it to be like as lightweight as you can make a hybrid. It should be hybrid just to
5,000 pounds. Yeah, just joking.
No, I want like under 3,000. But it should be
It's
like
gonna be a $50,000 car.
No.
Go ahead.
And it's make it like available in multiple, like in the early 80s, you could buy a Corolla or a Datsun, 210 or whatever in like 12 different body styles, where it's like, all right, 2-door notchback, 4-door notchback, 2-door hatch, 2-door fastback, wagon. I mean, there's no reason that it can't. I mean, that shit's easy if you're just pumping them out, and especially if the underpinnings are the same, and there's no reason for them to be different. But this is the big major point though, is that you totally decontent the car, and to make it as inexpensive as possible, and you make this the pitch, right? It's like, it's retro, it's wind up fucking windows, it's manual locks, it's a fucking key, no button, and it's just, and you just like go all the way down the line, no power anything, right? This thing is just fucking bare bones, dead simple. And I know at this point, like, electric windows are so ubiquitous that it probably would be more expensive to manufacture to do wind up windows.
They'd have to find a supplier who's making them by hand.
But I actually think that it would be worth it to do it, because like you're making that the appeal, right? And I actually think that, like, for so many, I mean, for old people, they would see this and just be like, oh fuck yeah, finally a car that's like the cars that we grew up with. And and for young people, it's like, kids who are into fucking cassettes or whatever, it's like, hey, check it out, it's fucking cool. It's like a VCR or whatever.
This car's like in Stranger Things.
Right? Yeah, exactly, right? And you've got a backup camera screen, but the only thing,
quality of life.
I mean, that's like legally mandated at this point, but But like no in-car electronics, you plug in, it's got a fucking aux jack or a USB thing. So it's like, if you want to run CarPlay through your phone, whatever, do it. But like no other, just all physical. And you saw it for 20 grand or under 20 grand.
Yeah, you know who did this?
No.
Ford did this.
With the Maverick.
They did exactly what you're describing with the Maverick.
Yeah.
They sold the Maverick for $20,000. The XL had nothing in it. It was all plastic. Everybody went absolutely crazy for it. You know how much those start for now? They're $28,000.
Yeah.
That is the base price of a Ford Maverick, because they realized, like, oh my god, everybody keeps buying the cheap ones with nothing in them. And they all want hybrids. Nobody wanted the gas version because the hybrid got like 40 miles a gallon. Yeah. And it was literally like, it wasn't even a thing about, there are people who are buying this who did not really need pickups, but they were just like, this is the perfect city car.
Yeah, no, it's just a cheap car. It's a cheap, simple fucking car. Yeah, that's what people are crying for.
If Jeep made a Wrangler that cost $20,000, I would probably go buy it.
Yeah.
Like,
we need a return to the Saturn mindset right now. Is what we need.
Like it could. Give me an agriculture. Like, this is the thing, is that, like, these developing countries get like agricultural vehicles basically. The new Toyota pickup truck is like, it is a classical developing country, sort of vehicle where it's a $10,000 truck that has like crank windows. It's exactly what you're describing, and you're right. We need that in the U.S. because we are back to developing country levels of income.
Yeah. I mean, part of the reason they can sell those cars so cheaply is because they they don't have to meet federal safety standards, which is okay.
But they should. Yeah. I mean, the thing is like I am softer on the. I think the biggest thing is that like, if tomorrow the government was like, okay, we're banning every single pickup truck unless you have a commercial driver's license, we would probably, it would take 5 or 10 years because of how many are already on the streets, but like you would basically solve more road fatalities just with that. You could basically go back to 90s crash standards and you would at the very least stay level.
Yeah. Because
like we're losing 10,000 people a year at pedestrians.
Right.
Because of how big cars are, and they're perfectly safe for the occupants. Yep. But it's not really doing anything in terms of like actual fatalities because like we're living in a collapsing society, and it's just another death of despair.
Right. No, it's just
more people drunk drive, fewer people pay attention.
Arms race mentality of cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I think I wrote that story for you, Rory, didn't I?
Yeah.
Cultural
a lot of that stuff too
yeah.
is also cell phone stuff, which isn't solved by any of that. Like it's just people looking at their phones when they're driving. That's a lot of like pedestrian fatality stuff, but it is interesting. Like the call for like. Did you guys ever drive a Volkswagen Up? Anybody?
No.
That was like the. It is a Mark II GTI sized car that's like a Euro only. They sold it for $13,000, and it was like it handles really well, soft suspension, but it's super lightweight, so it handles manual transmission.
Twingo-esque, right?
Yeah, and
super
it's like
cute.
you can put your phone up on the really cool car, and like. Incredible interior packaging, totally spacious. Like you can put a 6'3" person in the back seat. You can put like shit. There's like a load floor underneath the rear floor. Like the most brilliantly packaged, wonderful, like 50 mile per gallon, 3-cylinder, 120 horsepower, 100 horsepower car. Wonderful car. And I always wondered like for me, that's a car that I would want sold in the United States, right? Like that is to me, like I said, the Euro price was $13,000, and it was like if they brought this here, you'd sell the shit out of them. Everybody would buy one. Yeah. And now I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if a $13,000 Up goes up against a $13,000 used car. I don't know. Like I don't.
What is a $13,000 used car?
It's like a 20.
It's like a 110,000 mile Camry from like 7 or 8 years ago, and it's way out of warranty, and nobody will sell it to you with like any kind of coverage on it. Yeah,
but I do wonder, like, I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine people. I think like it's hard for me to imagine people buying a real stripper, like a real like agricultural spec car, unless the design is really good. Like. If the car looks cool, you can paper over every single thing. Like if it looks cool, it feels cool, whatever. And like, but it's to play devil's advocate. I think people are too used to like the like comfort and convenience of just like the modern mid-sized crossover. And I think like even people who can't afford it are financing. $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 cars, and like because like those are the cars that are available, and like car makers, there's just no incentive to build a cheaper car.
Well,
like,
I mean, I think right now you're right, but like let's come back in 5 years after the subprime bubble that we've just created implodes. And the U.S. economy is in the worst recession it's ever been in because we've...
Totally,
because Donald Trump has annihilated the economy because he has some personal beef with Xi Jinping. And then I bet there's going to be a lot more market for it.
He's a businessman, so he's going to make the economy good.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
Yeah.
I'll be dead, so it doesn't matter to me.
I'm joking. I don't think
the economy's going to be good because it would be in a fucking coal mine.
President Deals is going to figure out the right combination of tariffs.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
No, we're gonna go from having no president because our applesauce brained commander-in-chief is wandering in a circle right now while an aide holds like a little like Popeye's biscuit in front of his face and is like, come to the lectern, come on. And then like they're gonna inaugurate President Deals, and then God willing, President Z develops the electric-powered missile that blows me up personally, and I'll be free. But
Please
no,
liberate my apartment.
I'm angling for a regional governorship in the President G government. I've been on record saying this a number of times.
I'll be the
I would
best
be
bureaucrat ever.
I will be, I will put on 100 pounds. I will drive around looking at cherry and apple farms, pointing. If people can take my photo, and I'll be like, things are going great.
Love it.
Production's up 20% again every year. I don't know how this keeps happening. This is great.
You can take a dramatic picture with like a overcoat flapping like the ferry to Drummond Island.
Yeah. I'm going to be like 300 pounds roughly, sitting in the back of a sedan, being driven around and pointing at apples and cherries. That's what I want. That's all I want.
Rory's going to be in charge of the Michigan Special Economic Zone where we're still allowed to have cars.
Yes, exactly.
What's the BYD equivalent of a 7 Series with a long wheelbase? We can get you one of those.
I actually took my picture in the car that I want.
Oh, you got this. Okay. I thought you were just kind of spitballing here.
No,
this actually worked out.
I got my outfit set up.
Cool. What's your stance on estrogen and its availability to people depending on their birth gender?
Yeah.
This is going to influence this heavily.
Could we deschedule testosterone while we're at it?
Oh my god.
Don't get me started.
You can have whatever hormones you want as long as you do your job at the farm.
Yay!
Where you all work.
Still a friendly policy than RFK, notably.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Who will not give you your hormones and also
No.
makes you work at the farm.
Yeah, literally. We have to harvest all that fucking cane sugar now.
No, he said he wanted to send people to like apple orchards if they needed ADHD meds.
Yeah.
Oh, good. We get to go back to the funny farm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's fine because you'll be dead from like raw milk before then.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I mean, listen, carrots are already gonna kill you from Trader Joe's, so like it's fine. It's Jover. It's whatever.
We'll figure it out under President G.
Do you have the car though? I seriously want to know what this car is.
I'm looking it up. Hold on.
Is it a Zeekr?
Through the magic of podcast editing.
Aren't there like fancy
No,
Zeekrs?
it's not a Zeekr. This is a V8.
I've always personally wanted one of those Volgas, the 2410s,
Yeah.
the V8 dropped in.
Yeah.
And like the KGB used as like pursuit cars. That's like if I actually could have like the cars I actually wanted, those are like $5,000, and I would just if I had access to a warehouse for like 3 days, I could put an LS in there somehow. I'm sure they fit in everything. What?
So Honky L1.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And it's
That's their state limo company. Oh my god.
Damn.
So just for the listeners who don't get to see this, Rory is currently showing me pictures on his phone through his webcam. So it's not like you're really missing out on a ton here because it's a pretty blurry image.
The idea.
I feel like as the guest, I need to tell people how y'all live.
It doesn't occur to us to do that.
Anyone who's listening to this at this point knows exactly how this shit works.
Fine. Victoria, can people still buy the We Deserve This book? Are you out of copies?
Yes.
Or yes?
No, we still have them. They just have to get. I think we sold out on Amazon like 3 or 4 times at this point, and they kind of come in and out of stock. You can get them there. You can get them at bookshop.org, and then you can order it through your favorite local bookstore. And then Carrera Books has them. They are no longer signed copies from there because I signed all of the ones that had signed. And those sometimes are a little bit slower to mail out, but that's like directly through the publisher. So that's like bookshop or Carrera are like the ways to do it because I always like supporting local bookstores or my publisher.
Shout out to Ryan from Kura Books.
He just had another one come out. He just had Kevin McCauley's book come out.
A true fucking hero.
Yeah, he's like absolutely on fire this year.
Yeah.
Is there any other way people can support you and your work who are listening to the pod?
I mean, I would love it if you'd read my stuff on Motor One. I'm a staff writer there. We do really incredibly cool stuff. I mean, this year for November we did Japan Month. I think I contributed like 6 or 7 stories to that one. It was a lot of work, but it was every single day in the month of November, we ran a feature about Japanese cars and our relationship to them. So I did a video. I drove the Integra Type R and Type S back to back and shot a video on it.
Cool.
I got to see the only Honda EV Plus left on the continent and do a deep dive video about like the history of weird carb EVs. I test drove video game cabinets.
Nice.
So it was fun.
Wait. Which one? Which ones?
Winged D and Initial D. So it was a back-to-back. It was a Winged Midnight 5DX and Initial D. It was like the stage 4 variant. It was fun. I just found them in arcades, and I was like, I wanted to write about the history of like drifting and like Wing On racing. So like that's a place. I do have a Patreon I need to update. I'm behind on. It's where I share photos. I'm on Blue Sky. You can read shit from me there if you want, I guess. I have an Instagram and I hate using it because everybody just calls me slurs in the comments. Motor One's audience is like not really used to the idea of a trans man working there and being on video, so it gets gnarly. So I don't really like Instagram. They're kind of mean. But yeah, I mean, other than that, you can come into my apartment in Seattle and I'll give you a ride in my
Don't
Genesis.
say that. No, don't say that. People will do that. Don't.
No, I've already gotten death threats. It's fine.
Okay.
Again,
no,
to those people,
Listen,
I offer
death
the
threats
same
are-
challenge.
Death threats are one thing, but you don't want people coming to try to hang out with you.
That's how I made half my friends. What are you talking about? I met my wife on Twitter.
Oh,
I'm not even joking.
I love
come
love.
on,
That is-
That's the trans
It's
experience.
very trans, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not doesn't seem that unusual, really.
You've definitely been hanging out with too many of us, Rory. If that seems normal to you.
Lord, I've seen what you've done for others.
Maddie, what have you done to him?
Listen.
Maddie is the logical endpoint of a very long process of me being on Twitter and being too online.
Listen, Victoria, if you think Rory's Peter's still on Tumblr.
Peter, yeah.
Hey, I will defend it to the death.
Yeah. Oh, listen, I'm on there too.
It's the only. I mean, I don't even think of it as a social media platform. It's just a place for online refugees, basically, and there's no possible way for anybody for it to ever generate any money for anyone, including anybody who's on it, and so like the amount of clout, like the person with the most clout in the world on Tumblr still has zero clout, right?
Yeah.
And that is the beauty of it.
It's like I won't recognize Sex Haver if I see them on the street, but it's just like I'm aware culturally. It's like I've seen those posts.
Kind of a big deal, yeah.
I had an aesthetic automotive photography blog there called A Taste of Motor Oil when I was 20.
Lovely.
Because I was a very interesting egg.
You know,
correct.
there's
That sounds
still.
correct.
I mean,
Yep.
it is weird. I mean, I follow mostly politics people and some music stuff and some car stuff, but it's really such a strange cross section, and I've met people who, weirdly enough, like I followed initially for car stuff, and then we turn out to have like a lot in common, like politically, or vice versa, or shit, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, it's just a weird, yeah, it's like I say, it's a refugee camp. For people who hate the rest of the internet and in a similar way, like
Peter spaced out because he was activating the part of his brain that has to turn on when he's scrolling
exactly.
his timeline, because he has to block out all the Disco Elysium fan art he still sees in between politics posts.
I mean, there's just stuff that so much of that stuff I just don't even recognize, and it doesn't mean I'm too fucking old, you know. It's just like okay, this is just what the kids are into. And it's like, okay.
Just bounces off.
He has seen Harry Dubois and Kim Kitsuragi making out just in a blur so many times, and he would not even know. If you saw them in a thing, he'd be like,
I'm protected by a shield of obliviousness.
It's those guys from Tumblr.
No, that's exactly what that's the thing. When I see like a Lamborghini at you know, do a Trofeo Cup, and it's like, oh, that looks kind of Tumblr-ish. Like oh, and it's it's like, oh, and there's a trans driver. Wait, did these go together?
Placing this in.
it's so true.
Cool.
Well, Victoria, it has been such a pleasure having you. I'm
thank you.
sure,
This is extremely fun.
I've been watching your cat just chilling on top of the TV box or whatever that is, just hanging, just chilling.
It's the turntable. He's hanging on the record player.
Nice. Let's go.
Yeah, it does currently have a Mountain Goats vinyl on it.
Which one?
It's either Bleed Out or Sunset Tree. I'm not sure.
Ooh, Bleed Out, a good Mountain Goats record. That'd be cool. That's one of the ones that's good.
That is actually my wife and I's favorite.
My favorite too.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's the best
And
one.
she is so into that album. We both know all the words to that one. I don't know. The thing is, like, because I got into it in the past 2 years and I just listened to the same albums all the time, I probably only still listen to about half the discography in total.
There's plenty.
it's a
Don't
pretty
even
big
get me.
discography.
There's a lot. Okay, my first band I actually got into as like a teenager that I was like really into, like I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna go to shows. I'm gonna learn everything. It was Rush, which has a discography of like 30 albums.
Yeah.
That's baller.
So it's like this is kind of like if you have fewer than 10, I'm like, well, this will take me a weekend.
Well, Victoria, just so you don't feel alienated, I should tell you that on the drive, I went and visited my friend in Louisville last weekend, which is kind of a long drive, and on the drive down there, I actually did something that I hadn't done in probably 25 years. I listened to fucking Moving Pictures all the way through.
That's so good.
It's fucking incredible.
It's so good.
It's shocking, like how fucking pristine that fucking music sounds. Like even still, it's just like holy shit.
Yeah, no, I'm completely there with you. It's been a minute since I've like sat down and listened to it, but my go-to is always Signals, because I think Signals is like the perfect blend of poppy, you know, kind of like you can play some of these on the radio and like the perfect album. Like every single song in it is just goddamn perfect.
Can we talk for 30 seconds about the song Countdown?
Sure.
I'm so happy.
Because that's the last song on Signals, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
was that on the next one? Yeah.
No, it's in Signals.
Right. That song has always struck. Do you guys know this song? Matty and Rory?
It samples the first shuttle launch.
So it is a song. So they were in
Rush falls under my anti-Canadian embargo. I'm sorry.
So here's the
I
thing.
don't consume any Canadian media whatsoever.
Okay. So thing you need to know about Rush, right, is the lyrics are all written by Neil Peart, who's kind of a reformed Ayn Rand guy. Right?
Formerly.
Yeah. Well, that's why I say reformed. But was, you know, pretty heavy into that in the early days. A lot of kind of references and but
Red Barchetta.
Red Barchetta.
I can do the. I'm not gonna do it on air, but I can do the impersonation. You have to get me really drunk.
Oh
I
man!
could do a really good Getty lyric.
boss.
But this is my opportunity to talk about fucking Countdown with somebody who worked for fucking NASA.
Yeah.
Because so they got invited to the I don't know if it was the first or second one of the first shuttle launches. They got invited to just to be there to watch it.
Wait, Rush did?
Yeah. Somebody at
That actually tracks.
somebody's a fan. It's just like, hey,
Rush to come.
yeah.
This is
Okay,
like post
yeah.
Tom Sawyer's. This is like peak. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Signals,
I mean,
Signals
yeah.
is right after Moving Pictures, like 2 albums later. It was like they were like
Right.
gods.
Yeah. And but this song Countdown is just like, it's like a completely literal, moment by moment, like just description of watching the space shuttle launch, and it's so funny because it just it's just like this really tense, like, you know, dun 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 dun, and of course it's Rush, so it's like this just completely fucking incomprehensible time signature, dun 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 dun, and then it's like, you know, little like radio crackling with the you know, the mission control guys like talking to the shuttle guys and back and forth, and then it's like the lyrics are just like you know, where I can't even fucking remember them, but it's so funny because it's like there's not a fucking metaphor within like a fucking 100 miles of this song, which just always just cracks me up, and it's just like what's the yeah, it's just the funniest fucking song. It's like 6 minutes long. You guys should go and listen to it.
The thing is, it's actually still kind of, I still like it. It still kicks ass.
Oh no,
to me,
it's great.
Like,
well, this is the thing, is it's like, it's totally, I mean, it's.
Oh my god, I just pulled up the actual lyrics.
Yeah, read them.
And you're right. This is a okay.
This sounds great. I'm so psyched.
I've not heard this song. Okay.
Now we're just vibing.
Now we're just hanging out.
I apologize. I didn't mean to eat up all your evenings doing this. It's
no,
kind of
this
funny.
oh trust
This is the
me.
best.
Coming up on 45-minute point in our countdown, everything is going smoothly.
So this is
T minus
these
45.
these are
minutes
the
and
radio transmissions that are just kind
which
of
are
like
I think they were
cracking
actual radio
Okay.
transmissions from like the
Oh yeah,
first,
no, it's the real
like
thing.
Columbia.
Let's skip ahead.
Yeah.
Floodlit in the hazy distance, the star of this unearthly show, venting vapors like the breath of a sleeping white dragon.
Simile.
Crackling speakers, voices tense. Resume the final count. All systems check. T minus 9 as the sun and drama start to mount. This is insane. this
Rory's about to
It's like
reconsider
the
his
funniest
Canada
thing to write a
embargo.
song about.
this goes on for so long.
It's just a literal moment by moment retelling of like, this is the shit that we saw. We saw
This is like, I can imagine like
launch.
the NASA guys who like actually worked on this being like, this is too fucking long. I can't not listen to this whole
No,
shit.
no, never.
I'm bored.
I can't
So
wait.
There's
funny.
everybody who worked at NASA, at least when I worked there, like all the shuttle guys talked about how much they missed the days of shuttle because it was so glorious and cool. And everybody who came in after was like, damn, I hope someday we get to do something as cool as shuttle. So like anything about the shuttle program was basically mythical.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
yes, absolutely.
Victoria, are you also a classic planes girly, or are you strictly into spacefaring vessels?
I have a MiG-15 tattooed on my leg.
You're coming back. You're coming back, so you and Peter can talk about planes. You're coming back on the pod.
Sick.
At the end of all of our episodes, we sometimes remember to do our little sign off, which is we tell
Yes.
our audience to stay tired.
Stay tired.
Stay
Stay
tired.
tired.
You can stay tired.
Hell yeah.